Welcome into the Important Nonsense YouTube Waiver Show. It's Jason Draven. I'm here to help you guys pick up some players that I think will really help you this week. If you're a streamer like me, we're going to start off with quarterbacks, and it's Sam Darnold. Currently 9% rostered. He has some great upcoming matchups with the Cowboys and the Eagles. He's definitely going to have to throw, and at this point, he's QB 11 on the year. And this past week, he was QB 5, week 2, QB 13, and week 1, QB 17. Worst week so far. He's averaging 21.1 fantasy points in the 2 weeks, and he just has excellent weapons. Even without CMC, he's going to have a great value, and DJ Moore has shown to be his favorite target. It's hard to not love this guy, and this matchup is going to be so juicy for him. We'll move into the next guy. It's Taylor Heinicke, 3.5% rostered. He has some great upcoming matchups in the Falcons and the Saints. Falcons I'm a little nervous about because they aren't really going to have to throw, but after his coming in week 1 to help replace Ryan Fitzpatrick, QB 12, week 2, QB 9, week 3. He has a good defense behind him. He has a lot of offensive weapons, Logan Thomas and Terry McLaurin, as well as Gibson and McKissick. I mean, there's a bunch of other options, not including Diami Brown. I think Curtis Samuel's potentially back this week. We're going to wait and see on that. But he just has so many options, it's hard not to enjoy him as a player, and the fact that he rushes is also a huge benefit for him. We'll move into the running back. Right now, Giovanni Bernard's my first choice. 11.9% rostered. He has upcoming matchups in the Patriots and the Dolphins. He had a slow start coming off of injury. However, he saw a lot of usage this past week. He's filling that James White role for Tom Brady in this Tampa Bay offense. This past week, he caught 9 balls for 51 yards. Currently RB10 this week, and Tom Brady is looked to be poised to set, in their first quarter, more likely than not, the all-time passing record in Foxborough against the Patriots. It's going to be a huge game, and I think that this is a great value for you to make sure you use him. The next guy, not so surprising, with CMC going out, it's Chuba Hubbard, 11.3% rostered. His upcoming matchups are the Cowboys and the Eagles. With the injury for CMC, he's likely out this week, potentially next week. They are putting him on IR, so I'm assuming that he's going to be back next week or the week after. Not this coming week, but the next 2 weeks, he has a potential to be back, or at least ease back in, depending on how well the hamstring goes for him. He's going to be the likely replacement, but he is going to be in committee, so just keep that in mind. I would spend up to 20% as a manager for. In his one game, he is currently RB27 in fantasy. This past week, we're going to wait and see through through Monday's games to see what he's actually looking like. We'll move into wide receivers, and the first one is Emmanuel Sanders. He's 23.3% rostered. He has upcoming matchups that are so juicy in the Texans and Chiefs. Week 3, he's wide receiver 5, has 26.4 fantasy points, and before that, he saw the Titans 10.8 and the Vikings 24.4. Okay, so he's getting double digits. The thing I really like about Emmanuel Sanders is the fact that he is so versatile. So the fact that he is able to do the in-between as well as the deep ball, he's kind of taking on both Beasley and John Brown's roles and is being super effective with it. We'll move into the next guy, who's Tim Patrick. He's 14% rostered. He has the Ravens and the Steelers coming up, and so far, he's been having so much success on limited targets. He's putting up double digits each week. In week 1, he got 4 for 39 yards and a touchdown, 13.9 fantasy points. Week 2, 3 of 4 targets, okay? 37 yards and a touchdown again. This past week, he saw his most, catching 100% of targets again, 98 yards. Didn't get in the end zone, which is really upsetting, but 14.8 fantasy points. And the first 2 weeks, he is wide receiver 27. Definitely something that you want on your team and could be a huge asset, especially until Judy gets back. He's being so efficient. We'll move into tight end. It's Dyson Knox. It's my first choice at 4.4% rostered. He has the Texans and the Chiefs upcoming. Through the first 2 weeks, he's tight end 11, and he's likely moving up this week because he had a better fantasy week than the previous 2. So week 1, 8.1 fantasy points. Week 2, 9.7, and week 3, 14.9. And that was on less targets, but he did find the end zone, which helped him significantly. We'll move into the same guy that I love from last week and the one that I played at tight end in Pat Freiermuth. He found the end zone this week, and it helped him immensely, okay? He has the Bengals and Packers upcoming. The injuries continue to stack up for the Steelers, and currently has an 83.3% catch rate. He's only missed 2 targets and is looking great. Week 1, 3.4. He only had 1 target, but he caught it. Week 2, 7.6 fantasy points, and this past week, 3 for 5, 11.2 fantasy points. He's a short area target, and with Juju dealing with injury, Johnson dealing with injury, and even Claypool had a rough go. You saw how many targets that Najee Harris put up with 19. I doubt that they're going to be able to do that again, so Freiermuth is going to be an option moving forward. We'll move into defensives, and the first one I'm looking at is actually the Packers. They're 16.2% rostered. They have the Steelers and the Bengals upcoming up, okay? They're off to a slow start with the Steelers. The Bengals just put up 11 fantasy points against them, okay? The week before, Raiders put up 5 and Bills put up 4 in a very weird game that the Steelers actually won. Week 2, Green Bay, 6 fantasy points. Week 3, this past week, against the 49ers, 8 fantasy points. I really think this is starting to turn the right way for the Packers and that they get this rolling. We'll move into the last defense, and it's the Bengals. Okay, They're 5% rostered. They have the Jaguars and Packers upcoming. They are currently the 9th best defense in fantasy football. Week 1, 2 fantasy points against the Vikings. Week 2, 8 fantasy points against the Bears. And that was Andy Dalton, not Justin Fields. Week 3, 11 fantasy points against the Steelers, where they just decimated and only held the Steelers to 10 points and got after the quarterback. So definitely something you want to look at. I'm glad you guys tuned in this week. I hope you have a great season. Continue to come back and join me every Monday night. And until then, make sure you keep up the